Picture the biggest dog you have ever seen, a Great Dane, a St. Bernard, maybe a wolf in a documentary. Now picture a tiger standing next to it. The dog suddenly looks small, almost fragile. And here is the strange part. Every huge dog breed you have ever met was built by us, bred, selected, engineered over centuries by human hands. But the tiger, the lion, the jaguar, nobody bred them. They did it themselves, through millions of years of raw evolution. So ask yourself something you have probably never asked before. If evolution can build a 500-pound cat, why has it never built a 500-pound dog? Most people assume it is random, just how the dice landed. But that is not quite right. The real answer is hiding inside your own dog's body right now. And it says something about you, too. Scientists call this the predator body plan divide. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it in every dog and cat you meet. Stay till the end. Because the last part of this story will change how you look at your own pet forever. Let's start with the numbers. A full-grown tiger can weigh over 600 pounds. That is heavier than a grand piano. Now look at the largest wild dog species left on Earth, the wolf. Even the biggest wolves rarely cross 130 pounds. That is not a small gap. That is a canyon. And it is not because dogs never had the chance. Fossils prove ancient canines the size of bears once roamed the planet. So evolution clearly knows how to build a giant dog. It has done it before. Something stopped it from sticking around. But here is what is fascinating. The answer has nothing to do with strength. It has to do with style. Cats and dogs actually share a common ancestor, a small tree-dwelling creature that lived around 42 million years ago. Then something happened. That single family tree split in two. One branch became what scientists call feliforms, cats, hyenas, mongooses. The other became caniforms, dogs, wolves, foxes, even bears, two branches. Same starting point, completely different survival strategy. And that split is the whole answer to why one branch grew giants and the other did not. Imagine you are a big cat 40 million years ago. You do not chase your prey across open plains for miles. You do not have the lungs for that. Instead, you creep. You wait behind a rock or in tall grass. You get close enough to almost touch your target. Then you explode. One burst of speed, one pounce, one kill. Your whole body is a weapon built for that single instant. Retractable claws that stay razor sharp because they never scrape the ground while walking. Legs built like coiled springs for a short, violent sprint, not a marathon. And here is the key detail. In an ambush hunt, being bigger is basically free. You do not have to drag that extra weight for miles. You just have to launch it once. So evolution kept adding muscle, adding mass, because size only helped the ambush. It never punished it. But dogs made a completely different bet with evolution. Imagine you are a wolf instead. You cannot sneak up on anything. Wide open terrain, nowhere to hide. So your ancestors chose a different weapon entirely, not stealth, not a single explosive pounce, endurance. You chase, you keep chasing, for miles, sometimes for hours. Not because you are faster than your prey in a sprint, but because you simply do not stop. Eventually, the animal you are chasing collapses from exhaustion. That is, the kill. And here is the part that explains everything. In an endurance hunt, extra body weight is not free, it is a tax. Every extra pound costs you oxygen, costs you stamina, slows down the exact thing that makes you dangerous. So while cats were rewarded for getting bigger, dogs were quietly punished for it, generation after generation. So what killed the possibility of a lion-sized wolf? Not a lack of food, not a lack of time, physics. A body built for a 2-hour chase simply cannot also carry the bulk of an ambush predator. You cannot have both. Evolution had to choose a lane for each branch of that family tree, and it chose based on how the hunt actually happened, not on how strong the animal could theoretically become. And there is a second piece to this puzzle, one that has nothing to do with muscle at all. Teamwork. Most big cats hunt completely alone. A tiger does not call for backup. It relies purely on its own body, so its own body had to become the ultimate weapon, scaled all the way up. But wild dogs, Wolves, African wild dogs, they hunt in groups, and that changes the math entirely. If 10 wolves can bring down an elk together, no single wolf needs to be a giant. The group is the weapon. Size gets distributed across the whole pack instead of piling up in one body. Compare that to a solitary hunter with nobody to rely on but itself. Every ounce of power has to live in one skeleton. So think about what that means. Bigness in the animal kingdom is not a reward for being tough. It is a strategy that only pays off under very specific conditions: solitary, ambush-based, short bursts. The moment you add teamwork or long-distance stamina into the equation, bigness stops paying rent. It becomes a liability instead of an advantage. But here is where the story gets stranger, because dogs did eventually get their giant, just not the way you would expect. Around 38 million years ago, one branch of that same caniform family split off in a completely different direction. It stopped chasing prey across open plains. It leaned into raw size and raw power instead. Today we call that branch bears, grizzlies, polar bears. Genetically, a bear is closer to a dog than a dog is to a cat. So in a strange twist, the tiger of the dog world already exists. It has just been walking around disguised as something else the entire time. Now here is where this stops being a story about animals and starts being a story about you. Because the dog curled up on your floor right now still carries this exact same design choice buried in its body. That is why your dog does not stalk you in silence before pouncing like a house cat might. It runs. It plays fetch for what feels like forever without getting tired. It was never built to overpower you in one single strike. It was built to keep going. And your cat, if you have one. That is why it explodes across the room in one wild 3-second sprint and then collapses, completely spent, needing a nap for the next 4 hours. You are not imagining that difference in personality. You are watching 42 million years of evolutionary strategy play out on your living room carpet. And maybe that is the real lesson hiding underneath this whole question. We tend to think that being the biggest, the strongest, the most powerful is always the winning move. But evolution does not agree with that. It does not reward size. It rewards fit. It rewards whatever strategy actually works for the life you are living. The tiger did not win by being the biggest possible animal. It won by being perfectly built for one explosive moment. The wolf did not win by being the strongest animal. It won by refusing to quit. Two completely different paths, both still walking the planet today. So next time you watch your dog chase a ball across the yard for the 10th time in a row, remember what you are actually looking at. Not stubbornness, not silliness. A 42 million-year-old survival strategy still running strong. And somewhere on the other side of that family tree, a tiger is still waiting behind the tall grass, doing the exact same thing in the exact opposite way. Both of them right, neither of them wrong. Just two different answers to the same ancient question: how do you win?